Mondays with the Mako. We are back with you in a new format. Thanks to Adrian and his technology salve. We're using Zoom for this edition. And guys, Happy New Year. Amazing 2016 to you. Really thrilled to bring Adrian in a very specific topic to this community today. But going back, I need to thank Townsend, Trish, and Gary. Gary, you were awesome last week, brother. Tremendous feedback came rolling in. We really had a good thing going. I'm going to bring you back on, Gary. So thank you. Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you, Adrian, for spending your Mondays with the Mako and for rocking email marketing with me today.
No problem, Joe. Good to be here.
Thank you, brother. Well, tell me a little bit about your awesome background and how you got into marketing automation and email marketing.
Well, I've been an IT geek, and this is a bit scary now. I've been an IT geek for 34 years, doing all kinds of things through, writing software, getting into telecoms, all that kind of thing. It was about four and a half years ago when I first discovered Infusionsoft, and had a bit of a life-changing event, quit my job, and completely got into Infusionsoft at that point, working with a lot of really good people on the small business side of things, learning a lot about sales and marketing, email marketing in particular. And I just learned how powerful Infusionsoft was, and that became the platform for me. And rather than using Infusionsoft to run my own business directly, I started working with a lot of the big guys and the speakers, the coaches, the consultants in the UK, helping them use Infusionsoft to make their businesses bigger. And I've been doing that now for the last 4 years. And then almost by accident, I discovered a little niche for myself pretty much this time last year when I had a couple of clients that were struggling to get their emails through. So the last 12 months, I've spent a lot of my time working and learning all about emails and email deliverability, how to get into the inbox, that kind of thing. Through that time, I've learned a lot about best practice. I've developed some software that helps people solve a particular problem. And along the way, then I've come across lots of other bits of information that hopefully I can share a little bit about that today as well.
Very good, Adrian. I'm excited for this edition because a lot of people ask me, Jared, what are you doing? Shark, what are you up to these days? What's Infusionsoft all about? And email marketing is the backbone of what we do. So I'm excited to bring a little bit more of what I do, what you do to this community, and be very specific in this messaging today about email marketing and deliverability. So tell me a little bit about deliverability versus inbox placement and those two points right there, Adrian, because there's a difference.
Okay, no, and that is a really, that is, it's probably the biggest misconception people have, because people often go and saying, I've got an email deliverability problem, I can't get my emails through. And there's a massive difference between having your email delivered, which is actually quite easy, and getting it to appear in the inbox, which is actually a lot harder. Because from Infusionsoft's point of view, Infusionsoft absolutely rocks at getting emails delivered. The majority of emails that don't get delivered by Infusionsoft, it's because there's something wrong with the email address, or there's something wrong with the mailbox that it's sending to, or something like that. So probably more than 99% of the time, Infusionsoft gets the mail through there, and the reason it's not is because someone's mailbox is full, or because the email address was never correct, something like that. Occasionally there's a few other problems, but most of the time Infusionsoft itself is really, really, really good at getting that email through to the recipient. Now the challenge you've got though is that everyone who's got an email account, their email is processed by a server. So when Infusionsoft sends the email out, it's not sending it direct to my phone. It's actually sending it, in my case, I use Google. So Infusionsoft is sending the message to Google saying, please deliver that to Adrian. Now, the challenge we've got is Google then decides what's going to happen to the email. So it might be that if I've got a really bad reputation, it might throw it in the spam folder. Or it might be that if it thinks that I'm doing some marketing, then it might put it in what's called the promotions folder. So there's lots of different things that Google can do. And it's very, very difficult to know and understand exactly what process, what algorithms Google is using to determine whether the mail is going to go into the inbox, or whether it's going into the spam or the promotions folder or whatever. And it gets worse than that, because there's some people out there, some email administrators, that will actually silently throw emails into the trash. So they can acknowledge, so Infusionsoft will send them the mail and they will acknowledge that they've received it. and then they don't do anything with it. They don't put it in the spam folder. They don't put it in the inbox. They just do nothing with it. Now, the good news is that's a very rare problem, but when that happens, there's no way of detecting that. The only way that you know is that you just see someone hasn't opened your email, and you don't know if they haven't opened your email just because they don't want to read it, or because it's gone into their spam, or because it's just not appeared. So the real challenge here isn't really getting the email delivered, because Infusionsoft does that and it does it very well. The challenge here is, well, how can you be absolutely certain to get it into the inbox? Because obviously, if you're using email to market your business or to engage with your audience, whatever it is, you need to get as many people as possible opening and reading and acting on whatever the content is in those emails. And there's a lot that you have to do to maximize your chances of making that happen.
Well, that's my next question. That's well said. So how do we get emails in inbox placement? And I know you're going to engagement, so talk about engagement and what that looks like.
Yeah. Now, engagement is the new game in town, pretty much. I first learnt about it. The first time I heard about it, it must have been 3 years ago when I went to InfusionCon, and Jordan Hatch had an actual, he had a presentation that was all about email and deliverability. And one of the things that he mentioned there, which was an absolute eye-opener for me at the time, and I started using it when I was working with my clients straight away, was the whole concept of engagement. And I think Google were the first guys to do this. But since Google have taken it on board, then a lot of the other big boys have as well. So Yahoo do it, Microsoft do it with Outlook and Hotmail and stuff like that. And the idea being that it's no longer just what the content of your mails is. Sure, if your mail has got a load of spam in there, then, so if you're trying to sell, some kind of, real, dodgy pharmaceuticals or something like that, they're still going to throw it into the spam folder just on the keywords that you've got in your emails. But it doesn't matter how well worded your emails are. What Google and the other big boys are starting to do now is they're looking at what your audience does with those emails. So supposing I send an email out to 1,000 people and 900 of them delete that email without even opening it, then Google and the other big boys are going to notice this, and they're going to start to give me what's called a low engagement score, because they will see that people aren't actually engaging with me. I'm sending out mails and no one cares about it. And the first real examples I saw of that, because I'm obviously on a lot of people's lists, and I received an email from some property expert in the UK. I noticed it had gone straight into my spam. And the reason it did that is Google gave a reason at the top. It said, other people have marked similar messages to this as spam. So they're starting to use the behavior of their audience to work out whether or not a sender can be trusted, whether that sender should be delivered into the inbox or into the spam folder. And then they've taken it one step further, where supposing I'm sending a bunch of emails out to different people. If one person consistently opens my emails, then Google is more likely to put that into the inbox than if someone else who's just deleting them all without reading them. So it's working at two levels now. It's looking at what the whole world is doing in the eyes of Google, but it's also looking at each person. So you can't even say, well, Google will treat everyone the same, because it doesn't. Every single user of Google Mail gets their own personalized behavioral filtering based on what they do with the emails they receive. So it starts to get very complex at that point. And one of the guys I work with, who's a much better expert on the content than I am, he reckons there's probably around 450 or more different algorithms that Google uses to decide whether or not it's going to put that email into the inbox or the spam folder. Or in the case of Google, then we've got this extra hurdle to get over. It's called the promotions tab.
Yeah, I was just going to go to that. Excellent segue. So the promotions tab is Google's new thing to kind of judge or pre-qualify an email as a promotion or a marketing email, and it's going to stick it in this new bucket, if you will, automatically. Tell me more about this, and when did that start? 2013?
So yeah, that's probably, I'm trying to think back now. It's I think around 2013, something like that. What they did with that was they started looking at the content of the emails, and I think there was the promotions tab, there was a social media tab, and I think there might be other ones that you can customize. But the idea being they're looking at the content of the email and saying, right, well, this one looks like a marketing promotion, so I'm going to put that into the promotions tab. This one's obviously related to Facebook or Twitter or whatever, so I'm going to put that in the social tab. Now, this one looks like it's a personal email from a friend. We're going to put that in the primary tab. And obviously, when it all started, there was a big outcry about this, and marketers were saying, well, hang on, we're going to lose the ability to communicate with our audience here, because Google are just going to put everything into promotions. And why would someone want to look at promotions? Now, it's interesting because actually a lot of people, they're happy to have the promotions tab because they're more likely to look at the content there and engage with it when they're ready to look at promotions. And they do get upset if too many marketing emails go into their primary tab. But then, having said that, if it isn't important enough email, then if someone is in the habit of receiving emails from a particular sender and they do engage with them, they do interact with them, then sometimes Google can use their behavior and the way that the email is crafted and lots of other things to determine that it won't go into the promotions tab at all. It will still go into the primary inbox. And it really is all driven by the content of the email, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does. And that's been the message, I guess, throughout this. Tell me a little bit about what have we seen from the promotions, the move to promotions, that tab. Is our marketing message, is it getting diluted? Are we losing traction or engagement or view or clicks, if you will, because of that tab? What does it look like over the last 2 years since it's been out?
So potentially it can do. Yeah. So sometimes, and it really does depend. And again, this is what I've learned over the last 12 months is there are so many variables in this. It's a factor of who the sender is, what the content is, who it's being sent to. There's so many different things. But the numbers that I've seen are typically you can lose about 10 to 12% of your opens if most of your mail is going to promotions tab. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not the greatest expert in the world at the actual content of the message, if that makes sense. There's a couple of other guys that I work with and can recommend that really specialize in how to get your content go into the primary inbox inside Google, and that's something that I'll be mentioning in the ebook that I'm going to mention. But it's not just that. The content is very important, but then it is also really around making sure that your reputation is as good as possible. Because obviously, the poorer your reputation is, then the more likely that the world is going to hit the spam button when you send your emails out. The more likely they are to delete the emails. So really, there's two sides of this. The first thing is to make sure that you're doing what you can to get your audience to engage. So, as an example, I'll quickly run through the activities that an email provider would consider to be engagement. So, the obvious one is if someone opens an email. That's nice and easy. Equally, if someone, you know how you can add a particular email address to your address book, and that effectively counts as whitelisting, because you're telling your email provider that you want to, you trust this person, you want to be able to reply to them, you want to see their emails some more. So if you add them to the address book, then that's a very good sign of engagement. If you take an email and actually move it to a specific folder, that's a sign of engagement as well. If something has gone into spam by mistake and you pull it out, even better, because that's, you clearly want to see that. But the best one of all really is actually getting people to reply to emails. A reply to a message is the best example of engagement that you can get. So one of the things that I really encourage all of my clients when they're sending out communications is, as much as possible, have some kind of... Now, I know that obviously that can become a bit of a scalability issue. If you're sending out to a list of 100,000 people and 5,000 replies come into one email, you've got a bit of a job on your hands. But at the same time, if you can make that work in your favor, that's the best way to do it. Because the other side of that coin, of course, is you don't want people to demonstrate negative engagement or disengagement. So if they delete a message without opening it, or if they hit the spam button, or worst of all, if they report your message as a phishing hoax or something like that, then you're going to go right down the pan straight away. And it only takes one badly written email to do that. I had one client a few years back, and he put a rude word in the subject line of his email. And I think he had something like a 7% spam complaint rate, and his email was shut down. And when he got it turned back on, his engagement score was toast. So the content really matters here.
Give me some more engagement best practices.
So I think so for engagement, I think the golden rule really is just to really encourage people to demonstrate that they're engaged. So getting them to reply to your emails is the best one. or just encouraging them to make sure that they have whitelisted you. I think that's probably the big one. And certainly if you Google for whitelisting instructions, you'll find that different people have written an entire guide saying, if you're using Gmail, this is how you whitelist me. If you're using Yahoo, this is how you do it. If you're using Hotmail, this is how you do it. Because it's training your audience to really tell their mail provider that they trust you. I think that's the most important thing. And then it is just make sure that the content is really valuable. Don't send spammy sales messages out all the time, because people will start to switch off. They won't open your emails. So it really is about sending out real good quality content that's going to give them value every time. They do receive it from you. If you open it, they're not going to ignore it.
Okay, excellent, Adrian. Well, tell me a little bit about your ebook.
Okay, so I have just literally this weekend finished the final draft of the ebook, and the title of the ebook is The Ultimate Guide to Infusionsoft Email Deliverability. And the reason I've written this is because there's a lot of misconceptions out there about Infusionsoft having poor deliverability. There's a lot of misunderstanding out there around what does and what doesn't count as good deliverability, and people don't always know all the different steps that they can take to actually get themselves, to maximise the chance of getting their emails into the inbox. So I've gone through. I think it's about 8,000 words. It's 20 pages of absolute content, value, detailed tips, hints on how to maximise the chance of getting your emails into the inbox. And also it does cover a few suggestions for how to troubleshoot it. So if you are having problems, then it takes you through a whole different list of things that you can try, including getting help from Infusionsoft support, including how you can actually contact different email providers saying that my messages aren't getting through, and getting your audience to chase them up and things like that. So there's lots of different things that you can do there, as well as proactive steps to actually maximize your chances. And also, if there is a problem that really can't be solved, then it does mention briefly about how you can actually solve some of those problems as well using the software I've developed.
The ebook's awesome. It's brilliant, really. I'm going to read it through it again and give you another proper quick edit. When can we find that, or when can we start consuming that? What was your ETA again?
So I am hoping to get that finished in the next day or two. I've just got to actually get it online, basically. And the address where it's going to live will be on my main website for We Deliver Email, which is the software that can help. And the URL to go to will just simply be wedeliver.email/guide, and that's where I'm going to put it.
Awesome, and I'll put that, Adrian, in the bottom.
wedeliver.email/guide.
Yeah, I'll put that in my content for you, brother, so everybody can find you, follow you, consume that, because that is an amazing ebook and something I think everybody should have, not just Infusionsoft users, because it has a very good theme for all email people, whether you're using Constant Contact, Aweber, MailChimp, any of the other primitive softwares, or even something a little bit more advanced like Infusionsoft. Adrian, well done, brother. I've got one more statement and question and thought for you. Tell me a little bit more about your tool, though, that you've built for Infusionsoft. Tell me a little bit more about what it does, how people can find that as well.
Okay, so We Deliver Email is a software package that I developed almost by accident. So as I mentioned at the start of the year, start of last year, I had a couple of clients that had problems where emails were being discarded, and it wasn't Infusionsoft's fault. Infusionsoft was correctly sending the email, and it was mainly the financial services sector, the corporate sector, where there's all these little individual email servers that are run by individual, IT managers, email managers, whatever it is in these businesses. And a small, tiny proportion of them had decided that Infusionsoft was one of the bad guys. And they actually set their system up so anything received by Infusionsoft got thrown in the trash. And the intended recipient had no notification of this. And obviously this was causing a big problem. And one of the first client I worked with, she was about to lose 2 or 3 key customers worth maybe $10,000, $15,000, something like that, because they weren't receiving her transactional emails just with telling them when there were events and things like that. So she had a workaround, which was she was getting her assistant to mail them outside of Infusionsoft, but that didn't scale. So I managed to find a way of actually connecting Infusionsoft to a number of different third-party email platforms that I used more to send transactional emails. And The idea being that there's a little bit of setup to do, a little bit of change inside Infusionsoft, but then once it's all set up, then everything still works the same. So you can use Campaign Builder, you can send your email broadcasts, you've got your open tracking, your reporting, link clicks, automations, all of that works exactly the same way. It's just that instead of using Infusionsoft, then you can choose which third-party service will actually send the emails out. And typically, if one of them doesn't work, one of the other ones will. And I've had real great success with the clients that have used that. If they didn't have a problem before, it's not really fixed anything. You know, it's not a fix for poor copy or poor engagement or anything like that. But if the problem really is just that you've got an issue where your recipients are having the mails discarded and Infusionsoft haven't been able to fix it already, then this is a potential solution. And I allow people to try for 14 days, send up to 50,000 emails. If it solves the problem, then that's fantastic. If it doesn't, then you know all they've lost out on is a few hours of doing the testing.
That's awesome. Adrian, you covered a lot, brother, with me. You covered engagement, reputation. You talked a lot about the landscape. We talked about Infusionsoft a little bit. I'm going to be keen on bringing you back to talk a little bit more, especially as you develop through the tool a little bit more and the ebook. I'm very keen on seeing that this week and getting that out to the masses. So thanks, Adrian, for what you've done. You're considered one of the best email marketers in the world, especially with what you've uncovered over the last year, brother. So keep it going. My gosh, I'm thrilled to have you in my back pocket and to have you as a friend and a colleague. And my gosh, mate, thank you for this. Adrian, thanks for spending your Mondays with the Mako. I'm going to let you run. I know it's late over there, and I appreciate you helping me with Zoom too. This is a new tool. We'll see if it works.
No problem. Let's hope it works. Let's hope the recording works.
I'm going to stop it right now. Cheers, mate. Have a good night.